now? Can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay.
See it.
Great. And can everyone hear me all right? Like, is this a good volume, what I'm talking right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Great. So I'm talking about habit stacking, and I'm talking about habit stacking especially in the sense of personal growth, which for some people might be a totally new concept. It was for me when I first kind of started in Cutco, like really getting serious. So my journey with personal growth has kind of been very strongly correlated with my journey in Cutco. So I did some major changes, some really big personal growth changes before I became a rep, before I started with the company, especially like with exercise and starting boxing. I did that before I became a rep. But I'm sure as you guys have noticed that there's a huge push to be the best version of yourself when you're here and when you're working. And it's not just about sales, but it's about who you are. And so habit stacking is just one way to kind of look at how to improve yourself. So a little bit more about my journey, my trajectory. Like I said, it's been totally changed by Cutco, so that now I actually focus on growing. I focus on being the best version of myself. And so one of the things that I started doing was setting out a schedule to add habits into my life and to make it something that was consistent. And before this schedule, I was still doing some things. I was still adding activities, adding habits into my schedule, but I decided I wanted to plan it out and be very intentional about how I would be adding in those habits. So you can see I started in December of 2018, and I decided to really focus on my sleep. What that means is I was trying to get at least 8 hours, if possible, as close to 8 hours, going to bed at a recent time, at a good time, waking up at a decent time, and setting myself up for a schedule to be consistent so that as I moved into the semester, I would already have those skills. So like now I wake up at either 6:30 or 7:30 every single day, and it's no problem. Like it's no problem because I've already worked on making that a habit. And then January was about reading. I know some of you probably saw it in the group me. I finished my 5th book and I posted about that. Now I've just finished my 6th book. I've read 6 books and 3 plays so far in 2019. And it's such a good way to grow. There's so much information out there. Some of what I read is not personal growth related because I'm a theater person, I'm a creative. I read stuff that feeds the artistic part of me. And now it's a habit, so I've continued with that. Now, I crossed out exercise for February because originally February was going to be exercise. What I realized is that my exercise routine really didn't need a lot of improvement. I like exercising, I do it a lot. I have really good programs for how I lift, how I do cardio and do boxing. And even though there are tweaks that could be done, I decided it wasn't as important. So actually about a week into February, I dropped it. I changed it to eating habits. And this was like huge. I was fired up. I still am fired up about it. But I decided that really at the end of the day, like my eating habits have been bad for a long time. And I knew that changing them would actually make a way bigger difference than anything else. So I decided to scrap my plan, and I was going to make eating February and March. The reason is that I knew how deep my problems were with my eating habits, that it would take longer than just a month to work on it. So February has been aimed primarily at being intentional about my eating, keeping track of my calories and what I'm putting into my body, because I'm the type of person who eats when they're bored, when they're emotional, when the clock says it's lunchtime. I eat all the time, and I've become intentional about my eating, which has helped a lot. And March, I'm focusing on tweaking more about exactly what I'm eating. So I'm actually eating, going vegetarian 2 days a week, and I'm eating 1 meal a day that's vegan. So I actually have my lunch here. That's my vegan meal of the day. And it's so going so great. And if you guys have questions about that, you can ask me, but also talk to Jason because he's been immensely helpful. And then April, I'm doing meditation. So I'm going to focus on adding consistent meditation into my schedule every single day. And then May is going to be about my professional growth in theater because I'll be graduating in May. May is going to be the month that I send out as many resumes as possible. I apply to as many jobs as possible, apply to apprenticeships, and it's going to be focused on doing that. And then June is going to be sales. So assuming I don't get a huge dramatic job, offering before then, I will be down in Chicago and I'll be selling. And I want to focus on that to do the best that I can for the summer. So this is kind of my outline. I don't show this to you to like impress anyone or to like show you what you have to do. This is what I've decided is best for me to add habits into my schedule. And understand too that I've really come a long way already in my personal growth journey. So I've already made other changes that have led me to this point. Okay. So this is not by any means a timeline for anyone specifically besides myself. So kind of moving into habit stacking. What is it? Like what is habit stacking? What am I talking about? What it basically means is adding a new habit into your schedule one at a time. And specifically refers to stacking it onto habits that you already have. So for example, if you want to add reading into your schedule, you would add it in at a time that you already have a habit. So for example, you might decide that after every morning that you make your cup of coffee, that's when you read for 5 minutes. And because you already have a habit, you're stacking it onto your other habit. And there's actually like science to how it works. It's pretty cool. What happens is that when you do an activity, it becomes consistent and more frequent, and it actually strengthens the neurons in your brain. And when those neurons are stronger and bigger, it makes it easier for the brain to send information along those neurons. So what'll also happen is that if you don't use a neuron, it'll actually get cut. And that doesn't mean that you can't do the activity anymore, but it means that it's a lot harder. So for example, people who practice instruments, as the more that you practice piano, it becomes easier to play the piano and it becomes easier to practice because those neurons become stronger and the brain can send information along them a lot easier. For someone that doesn't play piano, it's not only really hard to start, it's really hard to do it consistently. It's really hard to do it and to get the skills to do it really well. So they don't have the strong neurons to do it. What's also really neat is that when you take a look at babies' brains, babies have a ton of neurons. They actually have tons of these synapses in their brains, but they're small. They don't do anything. They're not strengthened to do activities automatically, which is why babies can't just do stuff. They don't have any sort of routine or habit. So as you grow and you make new habits, you have these strengthened neurons and you can do stuff automatically. Now, everyone already has this. Everyone knows exactly how to brush their teeth or take a shower or cook a pizza, right? Like you have your habits. You can actually use this to your advantage, which is what's important. So why would you do this? There's actually a lot of reasons, as I'm sure you guys have figured out. The first reason why you want to focus on habit stacking is because it forces you to critically evaluate your current habits. So it's really hard to get real with yourself, but you have to take a look at what your schedule is like, what all your different habits are, what you do on a daily basis, and really be critical about whether they're serving you or not. So this forces you to take a look at every single area of your life. And what's also hard about this is you might be really awesome and really successful in one or two areas of your life, but you have to look at every single thing. So it really forces you to make changes. The other thing is that you'll actually see a ripple effect of improvement in all areas of your life. So when you make a change for your physical health, you'll actually notice improvement in your mental health, your spiritual health, and other areas too. If you make a change in your financial health, you might actually notice improvement in your relationships or in your physical health. And, you know, I think that this actually will become really obvious. So, for example, like if you sleep better, if you improve your sleep habits, you might actually notice that you have more energy. And maybe because you have more energy, you're also more patient. And when you're more patient, your friendships and your relationships improve a lot more. And then maybe also because those improve, your leadership skills improve. So you're actually able to lead and influence people better. So you'll notice a ripple effect with every single skill that you add into your life. The next thing is that you do it because then you optimize the best version of yourself for others. So if you want to be a leader in any area, you have to lead by example. So whether you want to be an assistant manager or you're aspiring to be a branch manager or a district manager, putting out the best version of yourself will actually set an example for all of the people that you want to lead. And then you'll also be able to lead in your specific area better. So if you don't want to be necessarily a leader in Cutco, that's totally fine. But you'll still be able to lead people in sports or in business or in whatever it is that you want to do when you're the best version of yourself. Now, the other thing that's actually really interesting is about how habits will actually allow you to make important decisions easier. So something that's really interesting is that humans suffer from decision-making fatigue, which means that we can only make so many good decisions. We can really only make so many choices in a day. So, you know, if you start off the day and you have to actually think about and make choices about what to eat, or you have to think about what you're going to wear or how you should spend your time, you'll actually have a more difficult time making good choices when the end of the day comes. And so if you actually maximize your schedule and your habits, you can make those important decisions easier. So if you don't have to think about what you're going to eat, if it is automatic that you eat healthy food, then it makes it so much easier to think about, oh, like, how can I do this project? When should I fit it in my schedule? If you wake up in the morning and you have a whole morning routine that is automatic, then you can make good decisions when you go on with your day. And you'll actually see this a lot all over the place. So for example, look at like big corporate people, a lot of really influential people, they use this to their advantage. Like Steve Jobs wears the same outfit every freaking day, right? He wears and you'll see that with other celebrities too. Like they may not wear the same outfit, but they'll wear similar outfits every single day because it's one less decision that they have to make in the morning. So if you can actually maximize all those little parts of your routine, you will not suffer from having decision making fatigue going on with the rest of your day. Now, here are some areas to work on. So these are just suggestions. These are by no means requirements. Some of you may already have really good habits in these areas, but there are 6 main areas that require habits, and particularly areas that are opportunities for good habits. So the first is productivity. And this is also like very, very different for different people. I understand that a lot of you probably have goals outside of Cutco, which is awesome. You should do that. So you can apply this to whatever areas you want to do. So for example, like if you do photography, how can you make a habit out of doing that photography consistently so that your productivity is consistent? You can also have sales goals, demo goals. Another thing that I think is really awesome is taking a look at your screen time. So, you know, how much time are you spending on your phone? How much time are you spending on Netflix? Monitor your screen time because sometimes it can be nice, but it can also affect your productivity. So that's something to think about. There are a lot of really awesome apps out there for your phone that will actually count your screen time. And there are ones out there that will force you to not be on your phone for a certain amount of time. It's really awesome. You can check those out. The next area is relationships. And relationships are important. Do you have time set out to hang out with your friends? Do you get lunch with, so many friends on every Wednesday, or do you go out with your friends every Friday night? It's okay to do that stuff. It's okay to have fun. And it's actually really important. So make that a part of your life. And if you do it habitually, it just makes it that much better. Family time is important. Um, again, same thing, like, are you making specific time for your family? Romantic relationships, right? Do you go on dates? Do you make it a habit to go on a date with your significant other, or to do whatever romantic thing you want to do with them on a regular basis? And then the next one is finances. So budgeting, of course, is super important. Do you have a budget? Do you stick to your budget? Do you even know what your budget should be? So you can kind of look at that too, especially if you're the type of person who overspends. You can do the same thing with savings. So are you saving a certain amount out of every paycheck? Do you have an automatic withholding set out? And stuff like that too. And then organization. So this is also different for many different people. Like keeping your room and your house clean is super important. Something that I actually started last semester was every night before I go to bed, I spend about 5 minutes cleaning up, just organizing my room. Things are in its place, just doing stuff to keep my room and my house clean, and for just a few minutes. And it's so awesome because I actually wake up to a room that's like clean and organized. And in the morning, I'm not, walking around trying to figure out where my backpack is because I already organized my room. Same thing with like paperwork. Do you keep everything in line for your homework assignments? Do you know where to find all of your paperwork for Cutco? So keep that stuff, organized too, and throw out stuff that you don't need. Right? If you guys haven't watched Tidying Up with Marie Kondo, love it. It's awesome. Give it a watch. And then also scheduling. Do you use a planner? Do you use a paper planner, or do you use a planner on your phone? Are you doing it consistently? I used to not ever put anything down in a planner. I was so bad at that. And this is one of the biggest changes that Cutco did for me, is to use a planner consistently. So I never miss an appointment. I never miss a meeting or a class or a homework assignment. The next one is spiritual. So meditation, journaling, and reading. All of these things are important for personal growth. And if you're not really sure what they are or why you should do them, you can definitely reach out to me. You can reach out to Jason. I know he's really good at all of these as well. And it's really important to add these things into your schedule. With meditation, journaling, and reading, all of these things actually don't require that much time. You can meditate for 1 minute and actually see a difference in your daily life. Same thing with journaling. You can journal for 1 minute, 5 minutes, and actually see a difference in your daily life. The next one is health. So exercise is important. I told you that it was something that I already had made a change prior to joining Cutco, and it's something that I want to improve. But now that I've done it, it's awesome. I love exercising. I lift and I run on a regular basis, and I do boxing, and I enjoy it. And it's absolutely no problem for me to do it because it's a habit. Diet, again, same thing, super important. If you're not really sure where to improve your diet, there are also a lot of documentaries out there. And what you'll notice too, there's TED Talks too that I really like. What you'll notice is with diet especially, it can dramatically change every part of your life. And then sleep is another place you can look at improving your health. And then the last one is leisure. So leisure is really important. I think people kind of pass over that when talking about personal growth. And I'm a very strong believer in structured leisure, in the sense that everyone should have hobbies and stuff that they are trying to learn or do or get better at or enjoy. And I think that that can be anything. So I think it's really valuable to have hobbies that are more than just looking at a computer screen or a TV screen, which I know is a crazy idea. But it can be anything. Maybe you love doing intramural sports. Maybe you want to learn a language. Maybe, you do art or something else. Maybe it's with animals or volunteering. So actually make time for those hobbies and make it something that's structured, something that's going to bring value and enjoyment. And then also rest time, just like period, point blank, have rest time. Not just like physically taking naps, even though that's great, but time that you're not doing work, time that's just spent enjoying yourself. So that stuff is really important. Now, one thing I do want to say too is that giving you all these areas is not meant for you to like attack all at the same time. Um, it's really easy to get fired up and you want to change like your whole life, and you like all at the same time you decide that you're going to throw away your candy and you go buy a bunch of exercise, workout clothes to exercise more, and then you buy a bunch of books so you can start reading, and it can get really awesome, like that you're going to change your whole life in 2 days, but don't do that. I'm giving you all these suggestions so you have a variety of places to look at in your life. And you will only find struggle if you try to attack them all at once. So really seriously, don't try to do everything at once. So now I'm going to talk about how to actually put your plan into action. And I have several steps here, as you can see. So the first step is to evaluate your current habits, good and bad. And like I said before, this is hard. It's hard to get real with yourself, but you really have to. You have to be critical about whether or not your habits and your activities are serving you best. And just do it for real. You can literally write down every single component of your life and decide if it's serving you and if it can improve it all. Even parts of your life and parts of your schedule that are good can often still get better. The second step is to consider habits that would make the most difference. So you can take a look at that list and decide what are you doing the worst at, and therefore what can you improve the most on. And kind of an optional step here would be to get more information about it. So when I was super, super fired up to start making these diet changes, I asked Jason and I asked Danny and a few other people. I was like, what advice do you have for me? Just looking to get a start on what I should do. And Jason helped me so much. He gave me a documentary to watch on Netflix called Forks Over Knives, and I loved it. It's kind of helped me fuel this step where I'm transitioning towards veganism, not completely vegan. And that actually helped me reach out to one of my friends who's been vegan for a long time. And she gave me recipes, she gave me suggestions, and we're going to hang out sometime too and just talk about that. So you can get more information. You can look online about what does meditation do for you, or how does your diet influence your mental health, and all sorts of stuff that will not only fuel how to do the activity, but why you should do it in the first place. Now, the third step is to choose one habit and just start. You just got to start doing it. Ideally, you start doing a habit attached to another habit. So that's where that stacking comes in. You can kind of choose to do something triggered by an activity that you already do, meaning you can choose to meditate for 1 minute after you make your cup of coffee, or you can choose to, after you brush your teeth, that's when you read for 5 minutes. And the other thing is that you can choose to make the trigger of the habit something that happens to you, meaning maybe you certainly, without a doubt, will receive a text during the day. And when you receive a text, that is when you take 1 minute to breathe and meditate before you respond. Or most certainly, the sun will set. So every day when the sun sets, that's when you read for 5 minutes. So choose one habit and choose when you're going to do it, and just start doing it. The fourth step is to schedule out the next few habits. So an important component of habit stacking is to have a cycle to it, where once something becomes a habit, you start in another habit. Now, it's not necessarily important that you schedule everything out like perfectly week by week, month by month, year by year. As you guys can tell, like I changed my goals. I changed February from exercise to eating. So it's okay to be flexible. But I also know exactly what happens on on April 1st. So be open to kind of scheduling out your new habits. And then I kind of mentioned this before, tie it to a current habit if you can. Not everything works out that way. But if you tie a habit to something that's already a habit, it's way easier to do. And then number 6 is to keep yourself accountable. So, every day that I eat, I actually keep track of my calories, which holds me accountable. Every single week, I talk to Jason and I tell him about how my diet is going. And I actually sent Jason a text once a few weeks ago, and I told him I am not eating pizza right now. I am choosing to not eat pizza right now. It was really funny, but it made me feel so much better.
And what time
It
was
made
that, Lexi?
what?
And what time was that?
It was definitely at 2 in the morning.
Baby?
It was definitely, yeah, it was definitely related to being out. I am 21, and I would, of course, never consume alcohol before I was 21. But I sent him a text. I was like, I am not eating cheap pizza because I can. And I ate a granola bar instead, and it was awesome. And it literally made me feel so much better. It's great. Just sending him the text, even though I knew that he probably wouldn't see it, it made me feel so much better, and it confirmed the choice that I was making. So find a buddy, find a mentor, find someone or something, an app, an internet group, something that's going to help hold you accountable for what you're doing. So those are the steps. Those are how to kind of put this into action. And the last thing, I'm just going to leave off on kind of this idea. And the idea is that discipline equals freedom. And this is why I'm choosing to kind of attack my habits right now. Is because I've realized that actually the more discipline I have, the more freedom I have. And they sound, in theory, very different. What's so crazy is that I was thinking about adding this into the talk, and I was like, oh, I don't know. And because it's something that I've been thinking about for a while. And literally last night, I finished up the book Extreme Ownership, and the last chapter is discipline equals freedom. I was like, this is crazy. This is awesome. And the book is really about how Navy SEALs use ownership in their practice. And I've realized that this applies to everything, is that when you have systems for everything, when you have habits for everything, you're actually more free to make the decisions that you want to make outside of those habits. So I just want to let you guys kind of ponder that and think about how becoming more disciplined in any area of your life will actually equal freedom in other areas. So this is something that's important to me personally. It's especially important to me creatively as an artist. And you'll find that this, again, applies to everything. So that's all I have for you guys. If anyone has questions, you can message me on the group me. You can, of course, talk to Jason, too. He's a really awesome resource. And other than that, I think that's a little bit early, so we can probably move on, Jason, a little bit early, unless you want people to get up and stretch or anything like that. So
Great. Let's give it up for Lexi. Thank you, Lexi. That was great. That was awesome. I love it. Who has any questions? So we have a few minutes for discussion. Who has a question for Lexi or myself or anyone about habits you want to start, or like habit you've tried and you're like, how do I do this? Anything like that. Josh, you first.
So for Lexi or Jason, what are some of the things that when you were first starting out, things that so the little voice in your head.
okay, I didn't hear any of that.
Oh. When you first started out with habit stacking, what were some ways we combated the mediocre voice in our mind that was stopping us from continuing that habit?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It is a good question.
I think, like, for me, like telling everyone. Like I literally told all of my friends and all of my mentors, I'm like, this is what I'm doing. And I just like wouldn't stop talking about it. And then they kind of held me accountable, like secondarily, meaning that they were just kind of like, they were supportive, and just talking about it fired me up so that I could not be mediocre about it. Like if I'm telling my friends about how I'm making these changes and it's going to be awesome and it's already going great and I'm fired up talking about it, like I can't be mediocre by proxy of talking about it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say three things for me. That's great, Lexi. And to pile on to that, it's sharing it with people. Because then there's a group accountability. Because you look like a schmuck if you tell everyone you're going to go on this diet, tell everyone you're going to like change, or everyone you're going to do this new thing, you don't do it, you look like a schmuck. And then also you write it down. I had too many goals that were up in my head, and I didn't make a commitment. Even with so I'm on like a social media fast right now. And crazy enough, it's less than 2 hours. That's how bad it is for all of us, by the way. So less than 2 hours a day of like unproductive social media, YouTube, all that stuff. So yeah, and 2 hours is still a freaking lot, but it's a big fast actually. It's gonna help me be more. There's this point to this. It's gonna help me more focused with my wife and my free time instead of just being a zombie like next to her, scrolling. Right, I'm actually gonna be able to communicate with her. Right, and a Miracle Morning is gonna be less interrupted. Basically, I had to write it out. Like, what exactly does this mean? What are some details of it? What are my time limits? Because once in your head, it's easy to go, let's change it. I'm not really that committed exactly. That's kind of like a gray area, right? So share it with everyone. Write it down so you know exactly what your parameters are, and then get on a streak. Make it so minimal on a daily basis to get on a streak because you know that streak, there's so many temptations, and having a streak allows you to, no matter what, nope, you're gonna at least do this per day. So that helps. Good, Daniel. You had a question. So since December of 2012, less than 10. And it's been because like I'm already mapping out on Monday with a 5:30 a.m. flight from Appleton to the Cayman Islands. I'm already thinking, okay, it's a little early to wake up and work out like 3 a.m. if I want to do that. So I'm already planting seeds with Abby that we're gonna work out as soon as we can at like 2 p.m. So it's been I think there's been less than 10 times in the last 6.5 years that I've been exercised for at least 20 minutes. Every single day, no matter what. Yeah. Streaks. Yeah. And by the way, for me, my streak is at least 20 minutes. Like this morning, I do Saturdays or Pilates for me. I do Pilates. Sundays yoga. And that's the long day. It's at least 20 minutes for me is like my state. Most days it's like 30 to 40 minutes, but also I'm not an athlete running or competing for anything. Just trying to stay healthy. So that's for me. So if I put an hour every day, there's no way in my mind I'd want to do that based on where I'm at in life. So my streak to trick myself is 20 minutes. I know I can at least do that no matter what. But most days I know I want to work out like 40, 35. So if your streak is like phone calls, well then do 5 phone calls. Maybe it's only one. Maybe no matter what, every day I'm gonna keep a streak of calling at least one person a day. If you muster the courage and the cojones up to do that every day, you're probably gonna do 2, maybe 5, maybe 20. And some days you may want to do 50, but at least keeps you on that streak. Who else? DJ?
Well, mine was
okay. Yeah. So bad, yeah, the streaks and tell people. Yeah. Are you open to sharing what you thought of when you thought of that habit?
like,
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to at all. But...
well, just like I have trouble.
Okay.
And like I kind of get out of that habit.
Okay. Yep.
So like I know you can't just stop a habit and not take over that time.
Yep.
But now that I've started,
yep,
you have to focus your brain on something else to do.
Right.
And so like I was just like like quick writing it down, getting on the street. And
Yep. Yep. So here's another like Jedi trick: is you replace what you don't want with what you want. So if you heard, he did a double streak or a double habit. It was I want to replace nicotine, and I want to do working out more. So then my thing for you that I would do, like a little fun thing, is anytime you're craving nicotine, get down to 20 push-ups or do like jumping jacks, which will help. Then also, we're in flow with what we're used to. So if you're used to every morning waking up and putting in a dip or smoking cigarettes or whatever it is that you do, maybe every morning you wake up and you go to the gym. So another part of habits is to replace a bad habit with a good. Okay, and then you kind of trick yourself into. And then I think another part with the habits is making lists of the whys. Why is this hurting me? Why is this not making me a better person? Why is this not good? Then the strong enough why is there, it allows you to take action on that daily habit. And maybe your daily habit for now is only once. You don't have to cut cold turkey. You don't have to go vegetarian and be done. It can be all right. I'm going to only get my nicotine fix once a day, or I'm going to replace instead of 3 times a day, I'm going to work out instead of that, and I'm going to whatever it is. I'm just blabbing here. All right. Other questions? Thanks. Good. Okay. Cool. All right. Sweet.